Chapter 41. Doug's Resolve. Chaos erupted on St. Tess Island. When the Buster Call fleet was spotted, the ships were already within 50 miles of St. Tess Island. At that distance, they would arrive in less than half an hour. Hurry! Hurry! We need to evacuate immediately. How did we get discovered? And why now? Our last supply trip was a month ago, and no one has left the island recently. No unfamiliar ships approached either. Could it be St. Tess? What nonsense! How could the St. Tess not notice if she was being followed? It seems attacking the celestial dragons directly was too impulsive after all. Bastard! Are you blaming the St. Tess? Various shouts mingled as the notified members of the Revolutionary Army quickly moved to the docked ships, amidst many panic-stricken and clueless children running alongside. Over the years, Sapphire had not only rescued many slaves but also adopted many children. Some were in their teens, others as young as 2 or 3, all of them wandering orphans in situations similar to what she and Gerard once faced. Sapphire provided these orphans with the home she and Gerard had longed for, teaching them to read and basic training. Her body transformed into a snow-like lightness, and white snow wings sprouted between her arms. As she floated in the air, she looked at the moving group, ensuring no one was left behind. Some of the happenings below caused her to frown slightly. Disaster reveals true character. Some Revolutionary Army members grabbed several children and sped up their pace, maintaining order. But others only cared about their own escape, even pushing or cursing at children who got in their way. She knew that the slaves captured by the slave ships varied, some being ferocious pirates before being captured. They had different motives for following her, with some even hoping to make her the captain of a powerful pirate crew. They often complained about her only attacking slave ships, not to mention her bold attack on the celestial dragons. She had considered purging the group but ultimately did not act. The formation of the Revolutionary Army was indeed her own idea, not pushed by others. She hoped to guide everyone this way, but now it seemed there wasn't enough time, or perhaps, I guess I just don't have that kind of ability. With her assistance in the air, the Revolutionary Army quickly transferred to the docked ships amidst the chaos. There were actually not many people, including children, barely over 300. Calling them a Revolutionary Army was more like a motley crew without Sapphire's involvement. One large captured slave ship could fit them all, making the Buster Call feel like using a cannon to kill mosquitoes. Hurry! Hurry! Turn the rudder! Set sail! It's too late! We're not going to make it! 10 steel behemoths appeared on the horizon, their cannons aimed at them. We're not going to make it! On the other side, the disheveled Mia stood with Figo at the bow of the ship, her face solemn. What now? We're still 100 miles from Witch Island, but the Buster Call fleet is probably almost there. The weather in the New World changed suddenly and unpredictably. It was Figo's first time leaving the calm belt, and he experienced this bizarre phenomenon firsthand. The sudden storm had no warning, catching even him off guard. Even stranger was the fact that there were winds and rain, but no rain clouds in the sky, making it impossible to cut through with his sword. The delay had cost them 2 hours of travel time. Navigation skill, 11,212. Level 4, Navigation Expert. Figo's navigation skill was actually quite high, one of the few skills above level 4. After all, most pirates at sea knew some navigation skills. It was like physical fitness, everyone had it, and the drop rate was high. But this number was still virtual. There was no sudden influx of navigation knowledge into Figo's mind. Like receiving swordsmanship benefits, Figo would rapidly improve when practicing, and navigation skills probably required a lot of practice to convert into actual benefits. Perhaps, he needed to read some navigation books? Figo made a mental note. The inexplicable weather changes were truly a hindrance. Now he could only. I'll go ahead. Figo said. Mia was stunned, then nodded. All right, I'll give you a boost. Be careful, Figo. She crossed her hands in front of her chest, and a giant hand grew from the deck behind her, palm up. Flower giant wheel. Seeing this, Figo jumped onto the hand. The giant hand sank slightly, then, with greater speed and immense force, launched Figo like a cannonball. Having become a vice admiral, Mia's devil fruit was deeply developed. This throw had immense power, sending Figo over 1,000 meters instantly. Figo used moonwalk, stepping through the air several times, leveraging the force to fly another 3 to 5 kilometers before descending. Thinking he would have to swim the remaining distance, Mia was shocked by what she saw next. Figo, landing on the water, flowed his golden armament haki through his feet and started running across the sea at high speed without sinking. How is this possible? Many strong users of flowing armament haki existed, but no one had ever heard of someone running on the sea with it. It wasn't just the flowing armament haki, Figo also used two techniques simultaneously. Life returned to lighten his body and fishman karate to strike the water for propulsion. As a traveler, he had long wondered if he could develop a technique like the one in Naruto to walk on water, making it convenient and avoiding swimming. The result was, no. Standing still wasn't possible. He had to run at the fastest speed and it was extremely draining, only suitable for short-distance quick travel. But it was several times faster than swimming. Outside Saint Island. The ship carrying the entire Revolutionary Army had turned and sailed out, but the 10 giant ships were even closer, pulling them into the range of their cannons. We're not going to make it. We're not going to make it. How did they find us? This scale, is it the legendary Buster Call? Damn Marines! What do we do, Saint S? Let's fight them. Up ahead. What's that? Sapphire tilted her head, showing a bit of surprise and confusion. Using her observation haki, she quickly found the small, panic-stricken blonde boy, Jibek, and walked over to comfort him. She took a pendant from her bosom and hung it around his neck. It looks like you're going to be someone important, Jibek. Keep it safe. Saintess. Is that a person? How is that possible? Someone is running on the sea. Finally, someone saw what was coming towards them. This discovery made them momentarily forget the approaching ships on the side. Naturally, Doug, CP0, and others on the ships saw Figo too. The silver-haired CP0 furrowed his brows slightly, but his action of raising the golden den mushi did not stop. All units, target the enemy ship. The officers with sharp eyesight hesitated slightly upon hearing the order. They saw the blind witch, the Revolutionary Army, and many young children on the ship. When they set out, they were not told about this. But after a brief pause, they executed the order. The cannons of the ships aimed at the opposing large ship. The shouting on the ship paused for a moment. Most of the Revolutionary Army members turned pale, feeling the shadow of death looming. A few roared to boost their courage, ready to fight. Sapphire walked to the front, looking at the warship's cannons. Half drawing her sword, cold air rose from the blade. Running on the sea, Figo's right leg suddenly swelled, doubling in thickness, preparing to kick. The silver-haired CP0 opened his mouth. Boom! Suddenly, a fist from the side interrupted him. CP0 spun and fell into the water, the golden den mushi thrown up, caught by a large hand. Don't fire! Doug brought the den mushi to his mouth, shouting, I will take full responsibility for the consequences. Blind witch, this is Vice Admiral Doug of Marine Headquarters. You have no escape. Surrender immediately, and I promise on my life that all the children on your ship will be safely taken care of. Not one innocent life will be harmed. Vice Admiral Doug. The fleet was in an uproar. The Revolutionary Army was stunned. Vice Admiral Doug laughed heartily, then heavily smashed the golden den mushi on the ground. As a teacher, I can't let my student bear everything. What, leaving a legacy in the Navy's history? I have no need for it anymore. Ha 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 ha. At this moment, he was spirited, as if he had returned to his prime 40 years ago. Sigh, I guessed you would choose to do this, teacher. A figure flashed beside him, and Figo said helplessly, be confident. This way, you might become a negative example in the Navy's history. Why suffer with me? Is that so? The heroic pose lasted less than 3 seconds. The old man's face crumpled, almost in tears. You brat! Chapter 42. Justice truly exists. Regretting it now? I knew you would do this, so how could the world government and the 5 elders not foresee it? Why did you have to take matters into your own hands? I could have stopped you earlier, Figo said. Regret? Never. Doug's emotions settled as he shook his head. I've used the Inspire fruit to convince myself to be a coward for decades. Now, with only a few years left to live, I think it's more important to uphold justice again than to be remembered in the Navy's history. He raised his voice and shouted, all Marines. From the first day we joined the Navy, we wrote the word justice on ourselves. What is justice? Is it just following orders and capturing pirates? No, justice means fairness. When faced with injustice, we Marines must have a sense of justice. Look at the children on the opposite ship, those innocent kids. Should we, to minimize our losses, equate them with the revolutionaries and kill them all with cannon fire? Vice Admiral Doug. The silver-haired CP0, knocked into the water, climbed back up, his mask shattered. Angrily, he said, "Do you know what you're doing? Those children aren't innocent. The witch has corrupted them and they are seeds of evil. They deserve a choice. Today, I'm here to show them that justice still exists in this world. Even if only a few turn back because of me, it will all be worth it." Doug responded. "You," CP0 started to speak, but a shadow suddenly loomed over him. Figo looked down at him from above. "If we judge people by their future actions, then I think what you're about to say will be very unpleasant. So, I should kill you now. You wouldn't have any objections, right?" Gaston Figo, CP0's body trembled, sweat beading on his forehead. He dared not move or speak further. Doug grinned and looked around the surrounding warships. The Marines walked to the edges one by one, focusing their attention on him. Feeling relieved, he realized many of these faces were familiar, all students he had once taught. Although he couldn't remember many names anymore. "Mr. Doug, what should we do next?" a rear admiral asked. "It's been a long time since we've heard your teachings," a Navy captain added. "Yeah, we'll follow your lead." Voices gradually rose in volume. Having taught in the Navy for 30 years and inspired countless people with the Inspire fruit, Doug's prestige was no less than that of the Navy Admiral or the Fleet Admiral. Doug laughed heartily, shouting with all his might, "Then, let me teach you one more lesson. Believe it with all your heart. Even though the Navy has its flaws today, there will always be someone who upholds the baseline of justice. One day, someone will awaken the justice in everyone's hearts. This world is not beyond saving. All sins will be punished. Marines, the blind witch, the children, the scoundrels, the innocents. No matter what you've experienced, what you've done, or what pain and misfortune you've endured, believe that the Navy's justice is real. Justice truly exists." The power of the Inspire fruit surged. Doug's powerful voice echoed over the sea. The Marines stood solemnly, receiving his words. Most of the children on the revolutionary ship were confused, but the word justice resonated in their hearts. Perhaps as they grew older, they would one day understand the significance of the old man's actions today. The once enslaved revolutionary members fell silent. Could there really be justice in this world? The irredeemable villains were even more panicked. Someone whispered urgently, "This is our chance. The Navy is in chaos. Let's leave their cannon range now. Don't trust those damn Navy words." Sapphire saw everything. The ship began to move slowly again, and Sapphire's observation hacky foresaw more scenes. Scene 1, Figo kicks the bow of their ship, breaking the giant ship and sliding it back to the shore. Scene 2, as Figo kicks, she tries to block him with her sword but is repelled by his arm. Their ship is kicked back to shore again. Scene 3. Scene 4. No matter how she tried to stop it or what method she used, she couldn't change the outcome of Figo's actions. So she said, "Stop the ship. Saintess. Stop it," she repeated more loudly. Some were unwilling but didn't dare defy Sapphire's authority. The ship, just starting to move, stopped again. In the next second, Figo used moonwalk to land on their bow. Given the previous spectacle of running on the sea and his inherent pressure, the revolutionaries at the bow took a few wary steps back. The children's gazes were drawn to him, with eyes filled with curiosity and tension. Sapphire stepped forward, and her words startled the villains. "Navy Admiral." "No, I'm not," Figo replied. "I'm the warden of Impel Down, Figo." "Hello. Impel Down. Gerard is fine. He's well fed, well rested, just always worried about you." Sapphire was taken aback, then smiled. "So many children, there must be over 100, right? Adopting so many kids, is it to raise a reserve force for the Revolutionary Army?" Figo asked. Sapphire shook her head. "I want to say no, that I just wanted to give them a home, but I knew that today would come. By taking them in, their situation might not be better than if they continued wandering. So maybe it is. I apologize to them. I selfishly decided their future. I wanted them to help me ask, what did my brother and I do wrong? I wanted them to help me ask if there's still justice and hope in this world? To help me ask why slaves exist? To help me ask why the celestial dragons exist? To help me ask why living is so hard? There was still resentment. Do you believe in justice now? Yes, I do. Sapphire affirmed. She smiled, as purely as she did in the childhood scene Figo saw in Gerard's character event. She raised her hands together in front of her, ready for Figo to cuff her. I miss my brother Gerard. Saintess. Figo glanced at the crowd. You'll be reunited. Since you don't plan to resist, I'm not in a hurry to arrest you. As for these children, we won't decide their fate directly. Choose 3 people from the Revolutionary Army who are most suitable to accompany the children. The kids who want to join the Navy can come aboard. Those who don't want to can go with the 3 chosen, to wherever they want, and no one will hunt them down. But you have to convince them not to be revolutionaries anymore. There is no hope for revolutionaries. In a world of concentrated power, revolution is no easy feat. Even Figo couldn't think of a good solution at the moment. The people on the ship were just a motley crew, risking their lives for nothing. As Figo's words settled, the murmurs on the ship grew louder. Saintess, why? Don't listen to the Navy's lies. He's trying to divide us. Let's fight them. This guy dared to board our ship alone. If we capture him. Sorry, everyone, I'm tired. Sapphire apologized, interrupting their protests, and turned to Figo. Can it be 5 people? Figo thought for a moment. 4. It was like haggling in a market. In almost a moment, the fate of this ragtag revolutionary army was sealed. Chapter 43. The Hell Pirates. In the Fleet Admiral's office at Marine Headquarters, Oa was focused, staring intently at the den mushi on his desk, waiting for a call. According to the scheduled sailing time, the fleet executing the buster call should have already arrived at Witch Island. What was happening now? What was Doug planning to do? What was Figo planning to do? Buru buru buru. Finally, the den mushi rang, and Oa immediately answered, "This is Oa. Fleet Admiral Oa, there's trouble." The voice on the other end wasn't Figo or Doug's, and it took Oa a moment to recognize it as Admiral Gondoro, who had been monitoring the Hell Pirates in the New World. "What's going on, Gondoro? Is the Hell Pirates making a move?" Oa asked sternly. "I lost track of them." Zebrath quietly left his Hell Garden, along with his top officers. "Only some small fry are left. Should we seize the opportunity to clean them up?" "What?" Oa frowned. "What is that bastard Zebrath planning?" Thinking quickly, his face suddenly went pale, and he asked urgently, "Gondoro, can you determine when Zebrath disappeared?" Well, sorry, I can only confirm he was still there 3 days ago." Oa abruptly hung up the den mushi and quickly dialed another number. "What is it, Oa?" The voice of 5 Elder Mendes bin Saint came through. "Lord Mendes bin Saint? Is the Hell Pirates' action related to the Revolutionary Army?" "Watch your tone, Oa." Mendes bin Saint's voice was calm. "The Hell Pirates? How would I know that? Handling pirate crews is the Navy's responsibility. But finding the Revolutionary Army's headquarters? That information came from CP0 through the Hell Pirates. Zebrath has always wanted to defeat Voracious to become the sole king among pirates, so he very much wants to recruit the Blind Witch into his crew. You knew this, didn't you, Oa?" Oa had already understood the underlying meaning of Mendes bin Saint's words and, filled with a mix of anger and shock, he shouted, "Are you insane? Mendes bin Saint? No, you're insane, Oa. Get ready to step down as Fleet Admiral." The den mushi was abruptly hung up. Oa sat there in shock for 2 seconds before hurriedly picking up the den mushi to dial another number. His expression indifferent in Mary Gosa, Mendes bin Saint tossed the den mushi aside. In the 4 seas and the Grand Line, the world government's intelligence agencies held an absolute advantage, but in the New World, dominated by the strongest pirate crews, the locals had the upper hand. While CP0 couldn't immediately locate a remote island in the New World, they had no such difficulty with the Hell Pirates. Where there is existence, there are traces. More than half a year ago, Zebrath, actively seeking the Revolutionary Army, found a clue when a Revolutionary Army member secretly bought enough food to feed 200 people for 1 or 2 months. A large purchase without the presence of a large pirate crew? Suspicious, isn't it, He had intended to act on it then, but the Navy reacted swiftly, sending an admiral to monitor his movements without knowing why. This had delayed him until today. CP0 had pinpointed the Revolutionary Army's general location from the Hell Pirates, which inevitably meant Zebrath learned some world government and Navy movements. Given his nature, Zebrath was sure to take action. Sending Marines to their deaths? No, it was not that. Mendes bin Saint had long guessed and known about Oaz and Figo's communications. Figo would definitely join the mission to eliminate the Revolutionary Army, regardless of whether Mendes bin Saint approved. Coupled with the buster call, the Hell Pirates could be fought, though both sides would suffer heavy casualties. A war that would eliminate some pirates and kill a group of rebellious Marines. If the disobedient Figo could be defeated by Zebrath, the Hellboy, it would be perfect. Not just to maintain his own authority. Over the past half-year, the more Mendes bin Saint learned, the more serious the situation seemed. Figo alone wasn't much of a threat. No matter how strong his individual power, he couldn't truly affect the world government's rule. But if he influenced Doug, it would be a major problem. Doug's status in the Navy was too special. The creator of the Navy 6 styles, he was a mentor to countless Marines. His Inspire fruit had motivated many young Marines in times of confusion. If such a group were led by someone like Figo, it would pose a significant threat to the world government's control over the Navy. So, it was best if a batch died in battle. As he contemplated this, the Den Mushi he had set aside began to ring again. 5 Elder, 5 Elder. Something terrible has happened. Figo is missing, came Ladou's terrified voice from the other end. Unsurprising. Mendes bin Saint sighed, the last time you saw him was yesterday morning, correct? You knew. Yes, I knew. You only just found out? Mendes bin Saint's eyes narrowed. Ladou was in trouble again. Meanwhile, the 10 warships forced the Revolutionary Army's large ship back to shore. One by one, the Revolutionary Army members were chained and escorted onto the warships. Saintess! How could this happen? Did you betray the Revolutionary Army? There was resistance, but Figo easily subdued those who fought. Sapphire, the only one who could challenge Figo, was instead helping him subdue the resisting members. Betrayal? That's an interesting accusation. Figo couldn't help but laugh. Soon, only a group of children and the 4 Revolutionary Army members selected by Sapphire remained. The prison files welcomed a bounty, flipping through hundreds of blank pages. Most captures had participation rates between 60% and 80%, with crime indices below 3 for 4 people, around 4 to 10 for about 20 others, and the rest all above 10. The highest was an astonishing 80 points. What had they done before? Given that he let 4 go, there were 4 innocent people among the Revolutionary Army. Figo was willing to trust Sapphire's choices. He signaled Sapphire to give her final instructions to the 4 and the children. Instead, Sapphire asked him in surprise, besides your team, has the Navy headquarters dispatched an admiral and a ship of elite forces? Figo was puzzled but quickly realized, looking out to the sea. A massive black ship, larger than the giant warships, gradually rose from the horizon. The mast bore a high-hanging skull with a dog's face. It was clearly a pirate ship. That is. Could it be? Marines who saw the pirate ship were shocked. Then, they shouted, everyone, be on guard. That's the mark of the Hell Pirates, one of the New World's twin poles. What are they doing here? Hell Pirates? Doug clenched his fists tightly. Suddenly, his den mushi rang. When he answered, Fleet Admiral Oaz's voice said, Doug, be careful. I can see him already. Doug roared and hung up the den mushi. On the distant pirate ship, a figure over 6 meters tall and extremely muscular appeared at the front of the deck, laughing maniacally. His laughter echoed across the sea, bringing a sense of oppression. Conqueror's haki was released without restraint. What a grand occasion, Marines! I was delayed by some minor troubles. Have you captured the Blind Witch already? Ha ha ha, how about a trade? I like the Blind Witch's character very much. Join my pirate crew. Trade hostages? Figo's expression grew serious. Is that Vice Admiral Mia? Chapter 44. Figo's Conqueror's Haki. As the Hell Pirates ship approached, more people could see Vice Admiral Mia, bound with sea stone chains, slumped unconscious on the ship's deck. Besides her, several other marine officers were in the same predicament. It was likely an unfortunate encounter during their voyage. Despite Mia being a vice admiral, she stood no chance against the Hell pirates and couldn't even escape. On the marine side, 5 vice admirals, including Doug and Figo, all boarded a warship's bow, watching the scene from afar. Doug's fists clenched tighter, his body subtly trembling. Little Mia, damn it! Figo, who had activated Doug's character event, understood the deep-seated hatred Doug harbored for the Hell pirates. He kept calm, observing the situation on the enemy ship. It's not just Zebrath, he noted. The other 4 vice admirals also reported their observations. The main officers of the Hell pirates are all here. 2 vice captains, Hell Spear Aaron Jackson, with a bounty of 780 million, and Hell Shield Tony Toya, with a bounty of 735 million, are both on board. The 4 beasts of Yomi country are also present, each with bounties over 400 million. And is this an all-out operation? Vice admirals, who aren't fools, quickly realized that the Buster Call information had been leaked right from the start, otherwise, the Hell pirates wouldn't have mobilized en masse. As for who leaked it, they didn't want to delve into it now. That could be investigated later if they survived. Just exchange hostages without a fight? Trusting a pirate's word was a surefire way to die young. The Hell pirates' all-out movement, appearing directly, wouldn't be just to rescue the blind witch and leave? It was evident this was a war. On one side, elite marine forces executing a Buster Call, on the other, one of the New World's strongest pirate crews, the Hell pirates. The 4 vice admirals looked at Figo. Ordinary marine officers didn't recognize him, but they, as vice admirals, knew who Figo was and were aware of his feat of defeating Admiral Raoul. This war hinged on whether Figo could stand up to Zebrath, the Hell boy. Doug-sensei, calm down, Figo said. Let's try to exchange hostages first. Doug took a deep breath. Little Mia's safety is in your hands, Figo. Figo nodded, then shouted, Hell pirates, we agree. Let's exchange hostages. Zebrath tilted his head slightly on the other ship, asking his bizarre-looking subordinates, who is that guy? As a top pirate, he knew all the key figures in the navy. Admirals, vice admirals, and the fleet admiral. But Figo was an entirely unfamiliar face. His subordinates exchanged glances, none of them recognizing Figo. One speculated, is he a candidate for admiral, someone about to be promoted? Who cares who he is? Boss brought us all out here. Without all 3 admirals, it doesn't matter who they bring. Some pirates laughed arrogantly. Boss, are we really going to exchange hostages? Zebrath lightly scratched his oddly shaped grey nose with a finger and grinned, Jackson, you go. Use this female vice admiral to bring back the blind witch. Don't hurt her, she's going to be our 3rd vice captain. Behind him, a man with grey hair and chiseled features responded solemnly, yes, boss. The pirates snickered, Vice Captain, that female Vice Admiral looks pretty nice. Be gentle, haha. Jackson didn't reply. Soon, a small boat was lowered from the Hell pirates' ship. Mia and the captured marine officers were placed on it. Jackson, accompanied by 2 trainee pirates, rowed the boat forward. Simultaneously, Figo also boarded a small boat, taking Sapphire with him. He rowed towards the Hell pirates' boat. Ever since the Hell pirates had proposed the hostage exchange, Figo had quickly put sea stone handcuffs on Sapphire. As the 2 small boats left their respective sides and gradually approached each other, numerous eyes followed them. Despite being 37, Mia retained her youthful appearance, making many Marines anxious and angry. The Revolutionary Army members, captured or not, were closely monitored to prevent any surprises. The 10 warships' cannons, capable of destroying islands, were aimed at the pirate ship. Any sign of aggression would trigger a devastating bombardment. Zebrath stood with arms folded on his ship's bow, unconcerned about the cannons. He focused on Figo and suddenly said, that guy gives me a strange feeling. Tony, be ready. Really, boss? Could it be the vice captain can't handle him? Is he the next admiral? Never seen this guy before. Where did he come from? Is he a devil fruit user? He seems to be a swordsman. The second vice captain, Tony Toya, a fat man nearly as wide as he was tall, said, I think something's off too, boss. Look at the blind witch. She should be a tough opponent, but there are no visible injuries. How was she captured? Zebrath's eyes shifted, his folded hands flexing slightly as a faint flame appeared on his fingertips. Tony immediately moved closer, and the other pirates fell silent. The distance between the two small boats was less than 100 meters in the middle of the sea. Figo's rowing slowed slightly as he calculated time and speed. The Hell Pirates vice captain, Hell Spear Aaron Jackson, suddenly said, "Hey, I've never seen you before. Who are you? And you, blind witch, we're here to save you. Why haven't you said a word?" Figo didn't answer. Sapphire weakly replied, "He's the warden of Impel Down, Gaston Figo. I don't need your rescue. I won't become a pirate." "TCH, Jackson scoffed. "You're a captured fool. Do you really think your 1.2 billion bounty is real?" Impel Down warden, "Hey, Gaston Figo." He recalled for 2 seconds and then said, "I've heard of you. A few years ago, didn't you capture the troublesome Magaldish?" His strength wasn't great, but his abilities were a pain. Catching him is quite something. He eyed the sword at Figo's waist with interest. "You're a swordsman?" "Coincidentally, so am I. I love dueling swordsmen. How about a match?" As they spoke, the two boats came within 50 meters. Figo glanced at Jackson and asked, "Really? Where's your sword?" His legs, folded under him, tensed slightly as he spoke, ready to spring. But Jackson suddenly grinned viciously, grabbing Mia by the neck and hurling her at Figo. Flying like a cannonball, Mia's hair streamed back, a pained expression flashing across her face. Figo's eyes darkened. He remained still as Mia was caught in his hands, her impact absorbed with no disturbance to his posture. Behind him, several voices shouted warnings, "Watch out!" From behind, Jackson appeared suddenly, faster than Mia's throw. His right arm transformed into a razor-sharp blade, coated with flowing, blood-red armament haki, slashing at Figo's back, blade and sword aura combined. "I am the sword. The sword is me." Hell Pirates Vice Captain Aaron Jackson, a Paramecia-type cleave fruit user, extremely proficient in armament haki. His highly developed fruit made his body transformed blades sharper and tougher than any named sword. He often cut enemies and their weapons in half during battles, making him the strongest offensive force in the Hell Pirates. Clang! The sound of metal clashing rang out. His blade arm successfully penetrated Figo's armament haki and muscles, causing a spurt of blood, but Jackson's expression froze. What was this sensation? It felt just like the boss. "I couldn't cut through, it got stuck. That hurt. You broke through my defense." Figo gently set Mia down and stood up straight, lifting Jackson slightly with the embedded blade in his muscle. At the same time, a soul-shaking force spread out, like a thunderclap in everyone's minds on the sea. The two trainee pirates rowing Jackson flipped their eyes and collapsed. The Marines' anxious faces froze, Vice Admirals like Doug showed looks of shock. The pirates' excitement dimmed, even Zebrath showing a hint of disbelief. "Conqueror's haki? Impossible. He's a Marine." At close range, Jackson's mind went blank momentarily, then quickly cleared under his observation haki's frantic warnings. Before him, Figo looked down, both fists clenched, golden armament haki flowing, as he struck down towards Jackson's head, the wind pressure almost blinding Jackson. "Coming at me head on? Don't underestimate me, bastard. Let's see who gets hurt more." He gritted his teeth, transforming his head into a sharp cone like future Chinjao, its tip gleaming metallic, coated with flowing armament haki, meeting Figo's fist head on. Boom! Figo didn't hold back, his fist slamming into the metallic tip, shattering the small boat beneath them instantly. Jackson's metallic cone head was instantly forced back into its original form. His head, returning to flesh, wobbled like jelly, features distorted, bleeding from all orifices, teeth and saliva flying, as he fell into the sea, eyes rolling back. Figo, meanwhile, grabbed Mia with one hand and Sapphire with the other. He leapt onto the pirate's small boat, which the waves had tossed. Punching through the splashes, he rode the giant waves, quickly bringing the Marines back to their fleet. Drib! Drib! Drops of blood fell from his fist. Figo glanced down. As expected of a pirate with a bounty of over 700 million berries. The second strike broke through as well. Chapter 45. Shatter. When he killed the celestial dragons, an indistinct aura began to awaken in Figo's chest. His Conqueror's haki was awakening at level 1. Subsequently, Through the Conqueror's Haki yield from Gerald's character event, Figo's Conqueror's Haki advanced to level 2, a lower tier Conqueror's Haki. At this point, if he encountered something that intensely stirred his emotions, Figo could unconsciously release the impact of his Conqueror's Haki. Still, unfortunately, it had never happened over the years. When he insulted the 5 elders and faced Raoul, the aura in his chest grew again, but Raoul wasn't strong enough, causing his Conqueror's Haki to be stuck at 900 plus points, unable to reach level 3. Until just now, when Mia was thrown over, this aura awakened in Figo's chest once again, surging forward. Conqueror's Haki, 2891. Level 3, Mid-tier Conqueror's Haki. At this moment, Figo could freely activate his Conqueror's Haki, roughly comparable to Luffy's level after 2 years of training. While it could easily clear out weaklings, it also had some utility against strong opponents, given his own strength and aura. Moreover, his identity added a layer of surprise to his Conqueror's Haki. Throughout history, very few individuals with the qualifications to awaken the Conqueror's Haki existed under the world government and the navy. Over the past 700 years, out of hundreds of admirals and fleet admirals, those with Conqueror's Haki could be counted on one hand. In the original series, Sengoku was the only known marine with Conqueror's Haki. The identity and regulations of the marines seemed to limit their aura. In contrast, more pirates at the pinnacle awakened it. Admirals had better foundations, growth potential, and resources to find matching devil fruits, leading in every aspect except Conqueror's Haki. This often resulted in minimal gap between the two sides, or even the strongest in an era emerging from the pirates. This suddenness helped him gain a precious 5 seconds. The vice-captain of the Hell Pirates, Jackson, was defeated and fell into the water. Mia and the other marine captives were saved and pulled back over 100 meters to the Navy's side before Zebrath reacted. His expression turned grim, flames of fury igniting. Purple-black flames spread around him, and the other vice-captain of the Hell Pirates, the Fat Tony, flew towards him, transforming into a pair of metal wings that attached to Zebrath upon contact. Clear the way. The boss is angry. Damn bastard, how dare he take down Vice-Captain Jackson. Boss, take him down. Amidst the pirates' clamor, Zebrath flapped his wings, cloaked in purple flames, truly resembling a demon emerging from hell, as he sped towards Figo's small boat. On the Navy's side, Doug didn't freeze either, shouting, "Aim at him! Fire!" Boom! 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 Cannons fired in unison, 100 rounds blasting out. The large-caliber cannons of the Buster Call, coupled with the elite skills of the marine gunners, instantly enveloped Zebrath in a dense barrage, trapping him within. His metal wings folded inward. The explosive impact reverberated in the sky, halting Zebrath's advance. Smoke billowed up, and the waves surged, accelerating Figo's return to the Navy ranks. But suddenly, a gust of wind dispersed the lingering smoke, revealing Zebrath's unscathed metal wings and body. The Hell Shield Tony Toya, a shield fruit user, had developed his fruit to the extent that he claimed to be able to block any attack, even mastering a unique and practical technique called Glide Shield. Doug didn't hesitate, shouting, "Fire! Fire!" One volley after another continued to obstruct Zebrath, buying Figo another dozen seconds. However, before Figo could return with Mia and the others, Zebrath caught up. Purple flames engulfed the small boat. Figo kept paddling at high speed. At some point, the sea stone handcuffs fell off Sapphire's wrists. She drew her sword from her waist, slashing upward. A blizzard emanated from her blade, reducing the surrounding temperature by dozens of degrees in an instant, freezing the air and extinguishing the purple flames, colliding with Zebrath. Blind witch! Zebrath growled in surprise and anger. Figo seized the opportunity, leaping up with a powerful rising punch that struck Zebrath's metal wings, sending him spiraling back. Immediately, Figo plunged into the water, dragging the boat and its wounded occupants beneath him, hurling them toward the not-so-distant warship. Hold him off for 2 seconds. Sapphire sprouted white snow wings, soaring up to clash with Zebrath again. White and purple streaks of light danced, momentarily stalemating until Zebrath roared in fury. "You dare help the Navy!" Boom! Purple flames surged, consuming the white snow. Sapphire's body disintegrated, transforming into scattered snowflakes that quickly drifted back, reassembling on the warship with her hand holding the sword trembling slightly, evidently lightly scorched by the flames. Standing alongside Doug and the 5 vice admirals, she didn't respond, facing off against the airborne Zebrath. Meanwhile, Mia and the other captives, whom Figo had thrown back, were secured and treated. The hostage rescue was successful. Zebrath glared at Sapphire in extreme anger, then suddenly seemed puzzled. Where had that guy gone? Sensing with his observation hacky, he abruptly turned. Figo had stealthily swum away in the opposite direction underwater. Upon being discovered, he leaped out of the water, once again running on the sea's surface, this time targeting the pirate ship that had followed Zebrath. What is that bastard planning? Zebrath didn't dwell on it, folding his wings and chasing swiftly. But on the sea, Figo's legs moved faster and faster. The water splashed to both sides as Figo turned into a blur, with Zebrath unable to catch up momentarily. In the meantime, the Hell pirates on the ship, who were cursing the blind witch moments ago, noticed the scene and became alert. What is he trying to do? He hasn't drawn his sword yet. He took down Vice Captain Jackson with just his fists. Everyone, be careful. Do you need to remind us? Fire. The situation had reversed, but the Hell pirates' ship, though well built, couldn't match the firepower of the Buster Call warships. They had only one ship, and Figo was a smaller, more elusive target. The cannon fire didn't hinder Figo at all. The swordsmen and marksmen among the pirates, their slashes and bullets, only slightly slowed him down. He was getting closer and closer to the pirate ship. And he showed no sign of slowing down. The pirates on the ship gradually realized his intent, their expressions turning to anger and shock. One pirate shouted, "Is he crazy? Hellfire, smash him!" Only Zebrath, who had briefly clashed with Figo, knew the exaggerated strength hidden in this 2.8-meter tall man's body. He roared, "Bastard, stop! Stop! Not a chance!" The pirate ship was right ahead. Figo's arms swelled instantly, his fists clenching tightly. Life Return War God Punch. Engulfed in flowing armament haki, his doubled fists collided with the oncoming Hellfire ship. Booming sounds exploded. Compared to the dozens of tons of the massive ship, Figo's figure was minuscule, but upon collision, the moving ship came to an abrupt halt. Immediately, a penetrating force spread from Figo's fists, snapping the ship's frame. This force extended over 100 meters along the ship's length, with the bow's impact echoed by an explosive hole at the stern. Cracking and collapsing noises ensued. Under the Hell pirates' astonished gazes, the deck shattered and splintered, sending numerous pirates flying in panic. The stronger officers stabilized, searching for footing, only to realize their ship collapsed irreparably, sinking steadily into the sea. What did this bastard do? Zebrath was equally furious. His purple-flamed fist slammed into Figo's shoulder, momentarily stiffened from the shock. With a bang, Figo was flung like a cannonball, skimming the sea for hundreds of meters before sinking. Unable to pursue further, Zebrath gritted his teeth, folded his wings, and lifted a few officers from the sinking ship, flying over the warships to land on Witch Island. Many more pirates fell into the sea. Bubbles rising, Figo's head surfaced, peering at the unfolding scene. Mission accomplished. The Hell pirates had many devil fruit users, and the sea and sea stone were always their weaknesses. Sinking their ship rendered many users helpless in the water. Zebrath could only save a few main officers, bringing them ashore. The rest of the crew was half destroyed by Figo's strike. But the real challenge lay ahead. On the edge of Witch Island, the demonic Zebrath was surrounded by even more intense purple flames, his conqueror's haki darkening the sky. His numbed and sore shoulder reminded Figo of the daunting reality. Zebrath's strength and physique might surpass his own. Chapter 46. Full-scale war. Is this a trap, Marines? Hellhound Zebrath voice echoed as he spoke, have you been secretly collaborating with the Blind Witch to lure us in? Among the 10 warships ahead, 5 were rapidly distancing themselves from the Witch's Island. These ships carried the captured revolutionaries, children, injured personnel like Mia, and most of the Marines below the rank of officer. The upcoming battle didn't require their presence, they had their own fight. Soon, the roar of cannon fire resumed. Not all the Hellhound pirates who fell into the sea were devil fruit users, some pirates were stealthily swimming towards the island. The remaining 20 Marine Rear Admirals, 5 Vice Admirals, and Sapphire stayed behind to face Zebrath and the Hellhound pirates' officers directly. Not a bad strategy. Purple flames scorched Zebrath's face, burning into his eyes. His winged vice captain reverted to his original form, stepping back a few paces. The other officers also retreated, enduring their rage, to avoid getting caught in their captain's wrath. Zebrath's appearance rapidly changed. His grey nose elongated, his head transformed into a dog's head, and his hands and feet morphed into hooves. Standing on all fours, he grew from a 6-meter-tall human into a massive 10-meter-long hound shrouded in eerie purple flames. A mythical Zoan, the Hellhound. They all must die. Roar! The giant hound roared, its mouth wide open, spewing purple flames. The expanding flames engulfed everyone ahead, including the 5 warships docked at the shore. The purple inferno rolled like a tidal wave, the scorching heat turning the faces of those facing it red and blistering, as if about to melt. But suddenly, the flames seemed to hit an invisible barrier and stopped expanding. Figo stood in the center, ahead of the flames, with Doug and Sapphire on either side. All 3 pushed their hands forward, their arms coated in flowing armament haki, firmly resisting and deflecting the purple flames. As the fire ceased, the massive hellhound snorted and lunged at Figo, descending like a mountain. Sapphire's sword slashed down, the weather changing abruptly. A blizzard descended, its icy chill spreading fiercely towards Zebrath. But as it neared him, the purple flames incinerated it instantly, leaving thick snow behind him. Facing the descending hound, Figo's spirit surged, and his conqueror's haki burst forth once more. Since arriving in this world, Figo had trained within the confines of Impel Down, fighting easy battles. But this didn't mean he lacked the courage to battle strong enemies. Facing Zebrath, who might be even stronger than him, Figo's fighting spirit fully awakened, every cell in his body brimming with excitement. His body suddenly swelled, and his height increased to 3.5 meters. His powerful muscles ripped through his clothes, exposing his upper body. Life returned war god form. Instead of retreating, he charged forward. With a thunderous crash, his body collided with the giant hound. A whirlwind erupted, the ground cracking and upheaving, the powerful shockwave wiping out Sapphire's freshly fallen snow. The wind pressure made it almost impossible for the Hellhound pirates' officers and marine officers to stand. The force clashed with the heavens, creating a deep, swirling vortex in the sky. The collision between the two lasted over 10 seconds before they finally separated. The Hellhound's 4 hooves dug into the ground, dragging deep furrows as it skidded back into the midst of the Hellhound pirates' officers. The officers quickly stepped aside, giving their captain space. Humph, this guy seems more troublesome than that annoying gander, but I'll kill him. Zebrath's words were filled with murderous intent and brimming with confidence. Of course, boss. The Hellhound pirates' officers had absolute faith in him. On the other side, Figo rolled and flew back, supported by Doug and several vice admirals. How are you, Figo? Sitting on the ground, Figo spat out a mouthful of blood and said, No problem, teacher. Today, we will destroy the Hellhound pirates together. You brat! Did you know? Did Mia tell you? Doug's expression wavered for a moment before becoming resolute. Yes, we can wipe out the Hellhound pirates here today. I, Doug, firmly believe that. The power of the encouragement fruit surged. This time, Figo didn't resist the invading power. Inspired, his blood flowed faster, gaining a buff. He stood up and charged at the Hellhound again, fists meeting claws, body withstanding the flames. 1 punch, 2 punches, 3 punches. Shockwaves expanded recklessly. No one could intervene in their clash, not even Sapphire, who was a few steps behind. A corner of the Witch's Island gradually shattered, seawater seeping in. Seeing this, Zebrath snorted and deliberately swiped Figo towards the island's center with his tail, shifting the battlefield. Seeing this, Sapphire grew white wings of snow, intending to assist Figo. But her foresight haki showed her a vision of herself being struck down by a giant shield in midair. She turned her gaze to the Hellhound pirate's vice-captain, Tony Toa. The big guy's facial muscles twitched slightly, his body turning pitch black with armament haki, resembling a giant black ball. Marines, you can't interrupt our boss's fun. Don't ignore us. Damn blind witch! The big guy charged at Sapphire with surprising speed, his arm transforming into a black shield, striking at her face, only to be blocked and gradually frozen by her sword. The other Hellhound pirates' officers also sprang into action, attacking the marine officers. One officer transformed into an 8-meter-long, 3-meter-horned, brown-furred giant rhinoceros. An ancient Zoan, plate-toothed rhino. Another officer turned into a 10-meter-long, white-furred giant tiger. An ancient Zoan, giant-jawed tiger. There were also a 10-meter-tall ancient ape and an 8-meter-long flat-headed pig. The Hellhound pirates' 4 beasts collectively transformed, bearing down on the marine officers. If viewed from the sky, the most eye-catching sight was, of course, the collision between the Hellhound and Figo in the island's center, each impact shaking the island, creating deep craters that spread continuously. The purple flames had already engulfed all the buildings and surrounding flora left by the revolutionaries, turning them into a sea of fire. Next was the perimeter, where snowflakes danced beautifully, continuously freezing a black ball, only for it to shatter again. The marine officers formed small teams, fighting fiercely against the 4 giant beasts and other Hellhound pirates' officers. On the outermost sea, non-devil fruit-using pirates who had fallen into the water boarded the ships tasked with eliminating them, engaging in brutal combat with the marine officers on board. Around the Witches' Island, the war between the demon-slaying fleet and the Hellhound pirates gradually escalated into a full-scale battle. And soon, it entered a fierce climax. Chapter 47. Island Split. Boom. At the center of the Witches' Island, a sudden thunderclap erupted in the sky. A massive purple aura expanded on the ground, collapsing the Revolutionary Army's building several hundred meters away. Books, perhaps used to teach children, briefly visible in the swirling dust, were incinerated by the purple flames and turned to ash. The purple flames, accompanied by shock waves, continued to spread outward. At the epicenter of the flaming aura, Figo stood with his arms raised, struggling against the Hellhound's massive body pressing down on him. The clash of conquerors' haki intensified, and the sky became darker as countless storm clouds gathered, thickening and blackening. The entire island trembled from the struggle between man and beast, and the ground beneath them shattering and turning to powder. Massive cracks spread out, and the ground within a 100-meter radius finally collapsed by more than 10 meters under the strain. With a final explosive sound, man and beast were thrown apart, the shockwave shooting skyward, dispersing the clouds and bringing back light. Figo blew out the flames scorching his shoulder. Zebrath claws, imbued with purple fire, regenerated their broken tips. Both combatants possessed peak-level physiques. After a dozen intense clashes, the damage they inflicted on each other was minimal, their stamina barely affected. It was just a warm-up. Hiss. The Hellhound exhaled a long stream of purple smoke, snorting, "If this is a trap by the world government, why are you alone? Where are the other admirals? Did you piss off the world government?" "I'm not entirely sure yet, but you might be right," Figo replied frankly. Zebrath blinked in surprise before letting out a booming laugh, "Interesting. How about joining my pirate crew? Those with the conqueror's spirit shouldn't serve under the world government. Be my vice-captain. I'll overlook what you've done. Together, we'll take down gluttony and become the sole rulers of these seas. You seem to like inviting vice-captains. Just like I enjoy inviting pirates to be my guests. How about it? Want to stay in Impel Down for a few lifetimes?" Figo countered. Tch Zebrath exhaled another stream of smoke. The purple flames swirled rapidly around him, his hellhound form reverting to a humanoid figure with a dog's head. All the purple fire gathered onto his right fist, increasing its thickness and danger level. His dog mouth moved as his voice deepened, "I'll show you the gap between us." The ground cracked beneath his legs as he instantly appeared before Figo, his massive right fist aiming for Figo's face. Although it was a punch, it looked like a crescent-shaped purple moon to Figo's eyes and his observation haki. Hell moon! Alarm bells rang in Figo's mind. He chose to dodge rather than take the hit head-on. A crescent-shaped purple flame shockwave grazed his body, scorching the earth and leaving a crescent-shaped lava pit. The dripping molten rock testified to the power of that attack. Such dangerous heat! This stuff can burn through my defenses. Figo assessed, planting his right leg firmly on the ground, his body rising. His eyes widened, hair standing on end, and his muscles slightly bulging as he launched a powerful punch at Zebrath's abdomen. War God Punch! The force, capable of smashing a ship weighing hundreds of tons, struck Zebrath, shredding his clothes completely. Not a scratch. His words would have been more convincing if not for the blood he spat. But his superhuman physique indeed made Figo experience the frustration of facing someone who could withstand his deadly attacks without retreating. Zebrath took the hit, barely flinching, and retaliated with a left punch towards Figo's head. Although his left fist wasn't imbued with purple flames, Figo's observation haki warned him of a danger level almost equal to the right fist. Figo dodged but not completely. Zebrath's fist missed, but a crimson bolt of lightning exploded from the fist's front, striking Figo's face. A sudden attack from nowhere. Figo felt like he'd been struck by lightning, his face in agony, spitting blood as he was hurled sideways, landing on one knee, gasping deeply. That doesn't seem like a devil fruit ability. Is it? Conqueror's Haki Infusion. Infusing Conqueror's Haki into attacks is a high-level technique, adding several times more power than ordinary armament Haki. Watching Zebrath charging at him again, Figo's mind raced, trying to grasp the technique of infusing Conqueror's Haki. Boom! 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 Several clashes erupted. The ground cracked and shattered, the area within several kilometers quaking like a 10-magnitude earthquake, rubble jumping and disintegrating into dust. Amid the swirling dust, Figo was thrown once more. Damn it, can't learn it quickly. Cursing, Figo spat out blood and charged at Zebrath again. More points. More points. Give me more points. Hellhound pirates falling into the sea were captured by Marines, with Figo's participation contributing 20% to 50%. Their strength ranged from R5 to SR6, with high crime indices, adding to Figo's gains. Along with the captured revolutionaries, the gains hadn't been selected yet. If not now, when? Physical strength plus 309. Armament Haki plus 257. Observation Haki plus 377. Armament Haki plus 206. Hundreds of points added in a burst, not a significant boost considering Figo's current strength, but enough to make Zebrath notice that Figo, initially suppressed by Conqueror's Haki, was fighting back fiercely, gradually leveling the playing field. What's with this guy? Die! Die! Just die already! Hell Light Spear! War God Punch Cannon! Hell Pillar! War God Iron Shredder! Boom! 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 The two fought at close quarters, their spirits and attacks clashing at the peak, explosions shattering everything around. The sky churned with dark clouds and lightning, threatening to destroy the world. The underground shockwaves accumulated, gradually tearing apart the small witch's island under the immense pressure. Crack! Crack! Unfathomable cross-shaped cracks spread from their clash, reaching the sea, the waves filling in, splitting the island into 4 pieces. Figo and Zebrath finally separated, standing on different islands, staring across the water. Figo crouched, scooping seawater to wash the blood from his face, feeling refreshed. He stood and smiled at Zebrath. Zebrath's dog face grew gloomier, the blood on his face darkening with his mood. Chapter 48. The difference in equipment. Zebrath was now 65 years old, having sailed the seas for 50 years. He had experienced countless battles, becoming an unrivaled ruler of the seas. 3 marine admirals? Even the strongest, Mocha, would have to give way to him in a one-on-one fight. The last marine admiral to pose a threat to him was the shorty, Oa, before he became fleet admiral, 30 years ago. As for the newly appointed Admiral Raoul, he's still too green. But today's battle with Figo, a much younger opponent, gave Zebrath a rare sense of danger he hadn't felt in years. The disparity in manpower and the unfavorable terrain forced him to defeat Figo as quickly as possible. However, despite using most of his techniques, Figo remained tenacious, only lightly injured. The island had already split into 4 smaller islands, making it even harder to sustain their battle for long. If the fight continued conventionally, Zebrath knew he wouldn't be able to defeat or kill Figo before they ran out of solid ground to stand on. He needed a breakthrough. Luckily, his vice-captain, Tanito, was a clever fatty. Suddenly, a whirring sound came from the side. A round shield flying like a frisbee, heading straight for Zebrath. Figo's observation Haki had already detected it. He leaped across the newly formed sea trench, carrying a formidable momentum, and punched the spinning shield. Zebrath sidestepped, using his body to block Figo's attack. With a dull thud, Figo's fingers pierced into Zebrath's flesh, blood splattering. Zebrath staggered, his right leg digging a deep trench into the ground to absorb the impact, while his other hand firmly caught the incoming shield. He then spun around, wielding the shield to strike Figo. The shield was instantly enveloped in flowing armament Haki, with small red sparks forming in front of it. Crack! Figo braced his elbows, once again clashing with an attack imbued with Conqueror's Haki, causing a thunderous roar in the sky. The ground beneath them crumbled, sliding into the trench. Zebrath tried to retreat, but Figo stabilized himself, grabbed the shield's edge, and pulled back, engaging in a tug of war. Either give me the shield, or come take a bath with me. As they wrestled, the ground beneath them crumbled faster. Suddenly, a chubby foot emerged from the center of the shield, kicking Figo in the chest and sending him into the water. Figo resurfaced, spitting out a couple of bubbles, and saw Zebrath retreating inland, still holding the shield. That really hurt, boss. This guy's strength is incredible. Sorry, I'm not good at attacking, not a match for the blind witch, Tanito's voice came from the shield. No, you did well. You can't lose. Zebrath praised. With the island destined to be destroyed by their battle, a devil fruit user like Zebrath, unable to fly, would soon find himself at a disadvantage. But with his vice-captain in hand, it was a different story. He also needed a suitable weapon. The Hell Pirates' 2 vice-captains, Hell Spear and Hell Shield, were originally Zebrath equipment. Zebrath's strongest battle state was with Tony, the shield fruit user, in one hand and Jackson, the cut fruit user, in the other. Using both vice-captains, he could unleash his full power. Unfortunately, Jackson had been defeated by Figo at the start and was likely in marine custody now, leaving him with only a shield. But it was better than nothing. With one hand wrapped in purple flames and the other wielding the massive shield, Zebrath appeared even more imposing, his conqueror's haki seeming to grow slightly. Figo observed from the shore. A shield fruit user wasn't a big deal, judging by the power of that kick. It would take 5 minutes for him to inflict any real damage on Figo if he just stood there. The problem was that Figo had just adapted to Zebrath attack patterns, which would now change again with the shield. Behind him, the winged blind witch flew over, saying, "Sorry, I couldn't stop him." "No worries, just support me," Figo nodded, stepping forward. He didn't attack Zebrath directly. When he was about 100 meters away, he suddenly smiled, lifted his right foot, and stomped the ground. Attacking the island. A loud rumble erupted, deep cracks spreading out. Zebrath had never seen such a shameless opponent. With a furious expression, he charged at Figo, the shield crashing through the air. Figo had been preparing, his fists pounding. Boom! The ground shattered, the sky seeming to tear open in response. Figo's legs dug into the earth, but the shield pushed him back. Suddenly, he heard the blind witch's voice behind him, "Left bottom gap." Reacting instantly, Figo twisted, his large frame becoming thin like paper. Using the paper art technique from the 6 powers, he slipped past the shield's left bottom gap. Just in time, Zebrath's right fist, wrapped in purple flames, smashed down. A purple crescent moon scorched the spot where Figo had been, turning it into a molten crater, but Figo had dodged it. From the side, Figo seized the opportunity, delivering a powerful whip kick to Zebrath. Blood sprayed from the dog's mouth as Zebrath was sent flying, rolling to his feet, glaring at the blind witch in the sky before charging at Figo again, shield in hand, each step leaving deep imprints in the ground, raising clouds of dust. Upper left. Middle right. Down. The brief, urgent reminders came from the blind witch, causing Zebrath to switch attacks, unable to land a proper strike continuously. Figo, following the witch's guidance, twisted his body, seeking gaps. The two kept a 10-meter distance, their attacks missing by less than half a second, moving like they were performing a mechanical dance. The dance continued until the witch suddenly stopped calling out, unleashing a slash at Zebrath. Dancing Zebrath ducked, his hair singed. Figo seized the moment, delivering a front kick to Zebrath's knee, sending Zebrath flying with his shield again. Figo looked up at the blind witch, chuckling, "Keep it up. Zebrath, you have equipment, and now so do I. But there's a difference in quality. Your fat shield can't match my foresight gem." Figo sounded the horn of counterattack. Chapter 49. The Fall of Zebrath. Snowflakes drifted down gently. After suffering 3 times from Sapphire's predictive observation haki, Zebrath shifted his attacks towards her. However, Sapphire was not an easy target to catch. She possessed a Logia-type fruit, had awakened her devil fruit powers, and was capable of predicting the future with her observation haki. The island was now split into 4 and was blanketed in heavy snow. The thick snowflakes quickly covered the island, reducing visibility to 10 meters. Sapphire hid herself within the snowstorm. Whenever Zebrath tried to locate her using his observation haki, he would face heavy strikes from Figo. Whenever Zebrath engaged Figo, Sapphire would strike from the shadows or provide critical reminders to Figo, tipping the scales in their favor. Zebrath could leverage his devil fruit abilities in a one-on-one fight for a slight advantage. But now, it was 2-on-2, putting Zebrath at a clear disadvantage as Figo landed more effective blows. And soon, it was more than just 2-on-2. Half an hour into the battle, 3 figures joined the fray through the snowstorm. Led by Vice Admiral Doug, the 3 Vice Admirals arrived, each dragging a heavy sea stone chain, signaling that the rest of the Hell Pirates had been captured. "Teacher, the other 2 Vice Admirals," Figo asked as he shielded the 3. "They're fine, just a bit injured. I left them to guard the ships," Doug replied. He didn't mention the casualties among the lower-ranking officers and soldiers. He waved the sea stone chain at Figo, asking, "Can you use this?" Figo shook his head. Sea stone didn't instantly immobilize a devil fruit user upon contact. Otherwise, every marine could just carry a sea stone chain and easily defeat devil fruit users. As long as they weren't fully bound, they could use armament haki to reduce contact area and resist sea stone's effects. Without Vegapunk in this era, the marines didn't have high-purity sea stone weapons that could paralyze a devil fruit user instantly. Hoping for Zebrath to be careless enough to get bound by sea stone was harder than pushing him into the sea. "Then we'll use it," Doug said. "We'll support you from the sidelines. Don't let this guy escape." Figo didn't refuse, "Be careful." On the other side, as Doug and his group appeared, the shield also whispered to Zebrath. "Boss, should we retreat?" Zebrath dog face remained stoic. He didn't answer. Retreat? More like running away. The situation was becoming increasingly unfavorable. Even the Marines were preparing to prevent his escape. But, running away? Letting the Marines capture all his crew, leaving only him and Vice Captain Tinito to flee like defeated dogs, turning from a king into a laughingstock on the seas. "I am Zebrath, the Hellhound." Crack! Crack! His conqueror's haki surged, and thunder roared in the sky. He charged at Figo and the Vice Admirals again, his momentum unstoppable. Today, it was either them or him. Figo faced him head-on, while Doug's hearty laughter echoed, "Come on, Zebrath, keep it up. Don't let me look down on you. As a king of the seas, you can't run away." "I, Doug, firmly believe that." The power of the cheer fruit surged. The fierce battle resumed. Half an hour later, the 2 Vice Admirals besides Doug were severely injured and had to retreat from the battle. But their sacrifices allowed Figo to inflict severe internal injuries on Zebrath. As night fell, Zebrath, fed up with Doug's cheerleading and Sapphire's interference, decided to exchange blows. The old man, Doug, suffered severe injuries but managed to wrap the sea stone chain around the fatty shield. Sapphire, using her snow fruit, froze the exhausted Tinito, though she also ended up severely injured from Zebrath attacks. Simultaneously, Figo's fist landed directly on Zebrath's eye socket, shattering one of his dog eyes and delivering a critical blow. Tinito, Sapphire, and Doug withdrew from the battlefield. The sea swallowed 2 of the 4 divided sections of the island. On the remaining 2 pieces of land, Figo and the one-eyed, retreatless Zebrath continued their death match. Their battle raged on until dawn, a full day and night since the fight began, with barely any land left to stand on. Around the island, 10 marine ships firmly blocked the area. On board, Marines and captured pirates anxiously awaited the outcome. Doug, covered in bandages, stood at the ship's bow with a recovering Mia, hands clenching and unclenching in anticipation. Suddenly, a deafening roar echoed from the battlefield, followed by a massive, demon-like figure of purple flames rising. The purple flames soared over 200 meters high, forming a giant fiery hound overlooking the sea. The water beneath the ships started to boil with the heat, bubbling vigorously but quickly cooled as the water flowed. The demonic figure in the center of the battlefield also shattered and dissipated. Trying to evaporate the sea? The sea is relentless. Zebrath is finished. Doug exclaimed, tears glistening in his old eyes. Beside him, Mia, her face still pale, smiled, "Figo will win. If not, he would have swum back already, using the buster call to blow Zebrath into the sea. You should firmly believe that, haha." Prisoner, Zebrath. Level, SSR 6. Status, in custody. Crime Index, 675. Capture Contribution, 80%. Selectable Rewards, Shipwright, Captain, Navigation, Armament Haki, Swordsmanship. Character Event 1, to be activated. Character Event 2, temporarily unavailable. Core Event, temporarily unavailable. Use the buster call to blow him away? What about my capture contribution? Figo had already fought this far, he wouldn't take shortcuts. He already felt a bit pained losing the 20% contribution. In a one-on-one fight, there was a significant chance of losing. If Zebrath wanted to escape, Figo had no way to stop him. But how was Zebrath crime index only a quarter of that celestial dragon's? The crime index was something harder to increase the higher it went. Killing a person might not even raise it by a point. Among the big pirates in Impel Down, the highest crime index hadn't even reached 150. 675 was very high compared to them, but it seemed too low compared to the celestial dragon. Figo pondered, thinking there could be two reasons. 1. Zebrath evil deeds were more calculated, aiming for domination rather than killing for fun. Unlike the celestial dragons, who would enslave a family on a whim. 2. The celestial dragon might carry the weight of originating the slave trade or other heinous crimes. He couldn't delve into it further now. His mind was on the rewards. Swordsmanship, his swordsmanship. Select reward, Armament Haki. Armament Haki plus 64,800? 124,795. Level 5, top level Armament Haki. Figo suddenly felt like letting Zebrath out of his cell to fight again. Become a patron to read chapters ahead of public release and support me winking face. Chapter 50. Curiosity. There are few secrets on the open seas. As the Buster Call fleet passed through, 3 unfortunate pirate crews were blasted into the ocean, but this couldn't entirely stop the flow of information. One of the New World's twin powers, Zebrath the Hellhound, leading his entire crew into action, was bound to leak some information. The collision between these two forces was a once-in-decades event. As the battle erupted, the pirates of the surrounding seas heard the news, especially those just beneath the twin powers. They sensed an opportunity and moved swiftly. Would the Hell Pirates suffer heavy losses? Could we seize the throne? Would the Marines launch a purge in response? But even the boldest pirates couldn't have foreseen that it would end with the complete annihilation of Zebrath and his entire crew. The seas are changing. Who is this person who fought Zebrath for a day and night? The Marines have such a powerful hidden warrior, pondered Egwene, a pirate with a bounty of 620 million berries, standing at the bow of his ship. A pirate beside him asked, "Captain, if we stay here any longer, we'll encounter the returning Buster Call fleet in half an hour. Should we turn around and leave their route?" "Yeah, we've seen enough excitement," Egwene said with a bloodthirsty grin, turning to his crew. "Boys, turn around. Let's go carve up the Hell Pirates' territory. The seas are vast enough, the gluttonous king can't control the entire New World alone. He needs someone to share the burden from the Marines. We will become the new twin powers. The new kings." "Yeah," the crew cheered. Amidst the cheers, a discordant pirate voice cut in, "Captain, look up, someone's flying in the sky." Egwene looked up, locking eyes with an old man flying high above. In the next second, his smile froze, and his pupils contracted rapidly as cold sweat broke out on his forehead. The old man descended. Egwene's legs began to tremble. "No, don't come over here. I was just here to watch the fun. Run! Run away! That's the Marine Fleet Admiral Oa. Get out of here!" 2 minutes later, the pirate ship carrying a great pirate's dream sank into the sea, taking the crew with it, leaving no trace behind. Oa flew back up, somewhat surprised and relieved. They actually won. The former strongest Marine, possibly still the strongest of the current era, and the float fruit user. Marine Fleet Admiral Oa. "Ha ha ha, Oa, you old fart, you got here pretty fast." Doug's laughter echoed as he saw Oa arrive. "Did you fly here at full speed? Too bad, too bad. You're a bit late. Otherwise, you could have shared the credit for capturing Zebrath." Oa glared at Doug, whose grin was nearly splitting his face. "You just happened to have a strong student. What did you teach him? If I had run the elite camp, Figo would be even stronger now. He'd be calling me teacher." Calling it with more sincerity. Ignoring Doug, Oa responded to the Marines' greetings on the ships, noting their lingering excitement. He could only imagine how loudly they cheered after the victory and how much respect Figo had earned. Lucky old Doug. He cursed internally again, then looked at Figo walking over and smiled, "Well done, Figo. How are your injuries?" "Just a bit rare. Won't affect much. A couple of sea kings will fix it," Figo said, his body covered in bandages. Zebrath's final desperate attack had left significant wounds. Oa patted Figo's waist, ensuring he was still strong and sturdy. "Honestly, I'm still having trouble believing you managed to defeat Zebrath. Could you still do it, old bones? You've held the title of the strongest marine for over 30 years. Maybe it's time for a change." Doug's grin reached his ears. Oa glared at him again, unable to resist a jab. "You calling me old bones? Old fart, I'm still 2 years younger than you. I can live another 20 years. And you? Don't let your spirit die just because you caught Zebrath. Don't end up in the ground in a couple of years. Then I'll die without regrets. Your grandson is still young. I have so many students, someone will take care of him." "Wait. Oa, why are you making it sound like I'm about to die?" The two old men bickered back and forth. Figo and Mia exchanged glances and led them to the cabin, ensuring their images didn't collapse in front of the Marines. Left alone, the two stopped arguing and exchanged serious looks. Doug asked sternly, "Oa, could you notify me ahead of time? Is there some hidden agenda behind this war with the Hell Pirates?" Oa countered, "Were the casualties severe?" Doug fell silent, nodding. It was a war, after all. How could there be no casualties? The Hell Pirates weren't pushovers. Fortunately, they didn't fight on the Hell Pirates' territory, their allied forces didn't join. Otherwise, even with a numerical advantage, the Buster Call fleet might not have matched up. Among the Hell Pirates officers, both vice-captains were SSR-1, one of the 4 beasts was SSR-1, 3 were SR-9, plus other influential members with various abilities. In the high-level battle on the island, even with the Marines' numerical advantage, the desperate counterattack claimed the lives of 3 rear admirals. In the sea battles, 4 officers and nearly 100 lower-ranked Marines were lost, thanks in part to Figo's ship-sinking strategy. Mia's ship, which encountered Zebrath early, had only a few survivors rescued by Figo. Talking about these made the atmosphere heavy. Oa looked at Mia, realizing how dangerous the situation had been. "The casualties are less than I expected." Oa, having seen such things for decades, said softly, "The Navy will remember the sacrifices of the fallen Marines. The new Fleet Admiral Gondaru will properly arrange their affairs." "New Fleet Admiral?" The others were shocked. Figo asked, "Is it because of me, Fleet Admiral?" Oa shook his head, "Only partly. Over the decades, Mendes bin Saint has grown increasingly intolerant of me. Even if he didn't remove me, I wouldn't want to remain Fleet Admiral. This time, he went too far." So, the Hell Pirates' coincidental attack was indeed related to the 5 elders. Doug's anger flared, clenching his fists. Oa nodded, explaining the background to the 3, "I believe it wasn't just aimed at Figo. Only targeting Figo wouldn't make him tear the veil. Perhaps, he wanted you dead, Doug." Doug considered, chuckling bitterly, "Didn't expect that I, an old man ready to retire, would still be feared by the 5 elders for standing up once after a lifetime of being a coward." "Fleet Admiral Oa," Figo suddenly interjected, "I've always been puzzled. How can the world government and the Celestial Dragons command the Marine headquarters, including powerful figures like you and the admirals?" Oa was taken aback. "Figo, you..." Doug laughed again, "Young people are bolder. You might not know, Oa, Figo has awakened Conqueror's haki. He has the qualities of a king." Oa was visibly surprised. Figo quickly explained, No, it's unrelated. I'm just genuinely curious." Oa remained silent momentarily, warning, "Figo, don't get any ideas. The world government oversees 157 member nations, a number that grows yearly. Powerful nations aside, the weaker ones need protection from world government troops. This army is several hundred times larger than the Marine forces. If the world government falls into chaos, the world will instantly descend into madness. You're still young and not fully aware of the global situation. The Marines are just the tip of the iceberg for the world government. An ultra-large-scale army?" Figo pondered, asking, "Are there strong individuals in these armies comparable to you and the admirals?" Oa hesitated, staring intently at Figo. Figo continued, "Just curious, purely out of curiosity. Also, in these 700 years, have any kings on the seas ever directly attacked Mary Gosa to overthrow the world? This time, even Doug didn't laugh. Mia and the others also stared intently at Figo. Figo grinned sheepishly. Curiosity, pure curiosity.